What's happening, comic fans? It is Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's having a great day, night, morning, whatever time of day it is you're watching this video. Hope everyone's staying safe and sound as well. Today I wanted to talk about collected editions that I used to own that were in my collection at one point that I deeply regret selling. I also talk a little bit about why I decided to sell them because, you know, why not? And yeah, without further ado, let's dive in. Please don't be too alarmed. I did have to record this intro after getting a haircut, so it's not a toupee, it's not a wig. Time just passed, so without further ado. The first series I wanted to talk about is DMZ, DMZ, depending what country you're from. This was a Vertigo series. There were 5 amazing deluxe editions for it that I really wish I could have again. They're out of print now, very, very expensive last I checked, which is also the reason I sold them. The series was written by Brian Wood with artwork by Richard Bucciello. I'm probably butchering the last name, Buccielli, with John Paul Leon doing some artwork there as well. I think he did some of the covers primarily, but an amazing, amazing series. It followed a character named Maddie Roth. Maddie Roth was a reporter who was going into this DMZ that was created in a part of the United States, basically meaning it was a war zone. And he was there to find out what's happening, report on it, and basically come back. He winds up getting stuck there. He runs across characters like Z and a whole bunch of other organizations and little groups that have created themselves within this new environment and sort of, I guess, lack of society that they have to live in. Of course, there's a lot of military conspiracy happening at the same time, so there's a lot of really aggressive violence within the story. So it's definitely not for kids, but it's a really, really fantastic story about sort of an idea of something as crazy as a DMZ happening in a city as big as New York. And it's really beautifully done. I really thought the artwork matched the storyline really well. It's gritty. It's got sort of a noir feel to it. There are amazing pages where Brian Wood will sort of break down the text as opposed to characters talking. It's sort of like a news report, so you get little bursts of words, and then the artwork behind it is absolutely stunning. It looks like you're watching a newsreel. Really, really fantastically done series. The deluxes were particularly really nice as well. They had that nice newsprint paper. The designs weren't anything spectacular, but I really enjoyed the series and reading them with those deluxes. The deluxes were super comfortable. You could hold them in your hand. You could hold them in bed. You could hold them while you're walking around your room like a maniac. It was a great set of books, and damn it if I didn't need that money at the time. I would not have sold them in hindsight, but hopefully someday we'll see an omnibus. I know there is a compendium coming out for the series, so that collects, I believe, the whole series, which is great. I may have to just get that and bind it and have a new set of DMZ on my shelf. Next up, another 5 deluxe edition volume set from Vertigo Comics as well. Nice newsprint paper, really nice graphic designs on the books, really nice dust jackets as well. The series I'm talking about is Scalped. This was a Vertigo series written by Jason Aaron with artwork by R.M. Guerra for the most part, created by the two gentlemen. A fantastic, fantastic series. Like I said, the deluxes themselves are absolutely beautiful. They're very expensive right now to get. They're not really available new as far as I'm aware, at least not in Canada, which is as far as my research goes because I'm a Canadian. The series follows a character named Dashiell Bad Horse. He's a Native American who's coming back to his basically his tribe to rekindle relationships there. He ends up joining the sheriff's county, and he ends up becoming a police officer, and he starts meeting the locals. He meets the head honcho of the criminal element of the tribe. There's a lot going on in terms of his return and the relationships that he's broken off in the past as a result of leaving in the first place. There's a lot of incredible action in this series as well. Very aggressive, very adult series, which brings me to R.M. Guerra's artwork, which is absolutely perfect for the series. I think it fits really, really well. It's nitty, it's gritty, it's aggressive, just like the story itself. I think Jason Aaron and R.M. Guerra are a particularly great team. They're currently working on a series for Image Comics called The Goddamned Virgin Brides, which is a sequel to the original miniseries The Goddamned. Jason Aaron in particular has done a whole bunch of work. You're probably very familiar with his name. He's written Thor, he's writing Avengers, he's done a whole bunch of titles for Marvel. And R.M. Guerra has done his fair share of work as well in this year. But I mean, Scalped was by far the best work by both of these gentlemen, in my opinion. The artwork was great. The deluxes were beautiful too. Like the same thing with DMZ, they were very easy to read. You could carry them. They were light. They had that nice newsprint paper. So well done. I highly regret selling those. If you have that set, I'm very jealous. Keep it, hold on to it. It's such a fantastic story. I would love to revisit it. Jason Aaron does actually have some experience with the Native American struggle. He's done his research. He's been involved with those communities, and so that added a whole bunch of depth and a whole lot of layers to the characters, the storyline, and the interactions between the two. Really well done. I hope we get to see a compendium. I don't think there is one solicited for this series yet, or an Omni. I would love to see that for this, but I do deeply regret getting rid of those hardcovers because it's such a fantastic story, and in hindsight, I mean, it's definitely a story that I would revisit multiple times. The next set of books I highly regret selling was another 5-volume set. Oddly enough, it seems like there's a pattern forming here, but it's not going to last for all the books I'm talking about today. I'm talking about The Goon by Eric Powell, written, drawn, created by him. He did all of it, the whole shebang. There were 5 beautiful library editions published by Dark Horse. I love those books. We did overviews for, I think, all of them. Matt and I both absolutely adore this series so much. What's great about it is the library editions are fantastic. When they were coming out, they were relatively cheap as well, $30, $40 on Amazon. Canadian prices, IST even cheaper than that. They're very hard to get now, very expensive to get now, but a magnificent series. If you have a chance to pick it up, you should really pick it up. Basically, the story follows a character named the Goon. The Goon, you find out, was a boy who didn't really have a family. He joined a circus troupe, and he wound up growing through them. And he deals with all sorts of supernatural craziness in his world: zombies, ghosts, monsters, whatever you can imagine. The series is brilliant because it's fun, it's compelling, it's emotional, and it's full of action and really great adventures. Awesome recurring cast of characters, and it's, again, the emotional part of it is something you don't expect because it's called The Goon. It's a very silly book, and then Eric Powell will just hit you in the gut with these scenes of, seeing the Goon's past or seeing him deal with something now that he wasn't expecting, falling in love, things like that. It's so great. If you have those library editions, again, hold on to them. They're so nice. I hope we get to see either a reprint of those library editions or some sort of omnibus set from Dark Horse. That'd be cool. I wouldn't mind like a big damn The Goon. I think that'd be awesome. But in the meantime, if you're able to pick these up for a reasonable price, I highly suggest you do. I wish I could have them. They had a pretty solid design. They were really nice to read. The binding was great on them, and it's such a fantastic story. It's a quick read, which is the only detriment that I'll give the intellectual property, but nonetheless, quick read or not, it's something that, again, if I didn't need the money at the time because they were expensive when I sold them, I would definitely have kept them. It's such a great book to reread and revisit every once in a while because while it's a quick read and it's not overly complex, you wait a few years, you forget what happened in it, you reread it, you get to enjoy all the hilarious moments again, and I fondly remember The Goon. I wish I could read it all over again. This next one was a single volume. I got a single volume this time. It was actually a custom bind I had made for a series that I thought was kind of underrated that I really enjoyed. It was a nice little jaunt in the Marvel universe, in the mutant part of the Marvel universe, which I'm not particularly a huge fan of all the time. So it was nice to have a series that I could relate to. This was all new XFactor. This is by Peter David with artwork by Carmine D. John Domenico. Peter David, of course, is a very well-known name. He's done things like Aquaman, Supergirl, XFactor, of course, which was a huge series for him, Spider-Man 2099, among many other titles, Incredible Hulk, of course, being there too. Peter David's done a whole bunch. He's a fantastic writer, and there was no exception here either. Carmine Di Giandomenico, if you've been reading Flash in the Rebirth era, he's done a whole bunch of artwork for Joshua Williamson's run. Fantastic artist. I love his style. It's very sharp, edgy, frantic, so cool, and it worked for All New X Factor. I liked it a lot. All New X Factor, basically the team found a new corporation to sponsor them, and we got to see characters like Gambit, Polaris, Quicksilver come together, Warlock. It was awesome. A really fun, crazy team of X-Men that people are huge fans of for sure, but they're not like the main X-Men. Unfortunately, the series was very short-lived. It only made it to 20 issues because of low sales, which doesn't make sense to me because people would clamor about X Factor by Peter David, but nobody wanted all new X Factor. Maybe they didn't enjoy it as much as I did. I thought the cast was fantastic. I thought the artwork was brilliant. It matched the series. The stories were really fun. Seeing the team interact, they were a great team, a great set of characters. I think you also had like Danger and Cypher in there. It was great. It was such a unique team. Characters I wasn't overly familiar with, but I knew from other titles like Astonishing X-Men and XFactor and all sorts. It was such a great title. Hopefully, we get to see an official release for it someday. Although due to the low sales initially, I doubt we will. Maybe if we ever see an XFactor set of Omnis, it'll be in there as well as like the last volume. Maybe that'd be cool. I wouldn't mind that. But I wish I hadn't sold this the custom omnibus, but I had to. Again, I needed the cash, and customs can go for a lot. Had a nice dust jacket for it and everything. It was a great book. If you haven't checked out All New X Factor, you're looking for a new, slightly older Marvel series. This came out, I think it was about 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Check out All New X Factor. If you're a fan of Peter David, you'll enjoy it a lot. If you're a fan of X Factor, you'll enjoy it even more. The last set of books I wanted to talk about is 4 volumes. 4 omnis to be exact, and this is the JSA three omnibus volume set, along with the Hawkman set that was sort of like a companion piece to it, I guess you could say, a spin-off omnibus, if you will. The JSA series, of course, is the Jeff Johns set that came out a few years ago. I don't think they're all difficult to find, but I think a couple volumes can get a little tricky to find online for a reasonable price. It started off, of course, with James Robinson, and then David S. Goyer, and Jeff Johns took the mantle and continued writing the series. There's a plethora of artists on it, so I'm not going to undertake the task of naming all the amazing, incredible artists that worked on the title. When Jeff Johns started writing the title, you had a great set of characters as part of the team. The JSA, of course, is a relatively old team. I think they're Golden Age, if I'm not mistaken. But when Jeff Johns took over the title, sort of writing them in modern time after Zero Hour, it was a fantastic set of characters. You had Hourman, you had Wildcat, you had The Flash, you had Alan Scott as Sentinel/Green Lantern, and then you had the new guys coming in. You had characters like Stargirl coming in, the new Sandman. It was a really fun cast of characters that was growing over time. Power Girl jumped in there. Hawkman came back. Hawkgirl was in there as well. I mean, a really fantastic, diverse set of characters. We got to see an amazing set of villains, a lot of mysticism in terms of the villains as well, a lot of time manipulation, which was a pretty central theme within the run. Really fantastic. With those 3 gigantic omnis too, you got a really nice chunk of storyline written by an incredible writer in Jeff Johns with fantastic artists backing him up. And then the Hawkman omnibus. The Hawkman omnibus basically contained some issues of JSA because throughout the JSA run, we got to see Hawkman return. And what's great about that is he got his own series afterwards, also written by Jeff Johns. And that had an omnibus, which was, a rough omnibus. It was not an easy omnibus to read. Glued binding. For a lot of people, it fell apart. I remember my copy, the front cover was starting to get wrinkly and a little broken, but still a fantastic read. Hopefully we get to see a reprint of that Hawkman omnibus because it's a great underrated run by Jeff Johns that had an unfortunate official release with horrific binding back when I guess Omnis were, a new concept, fair enough. It would be really nice to see it rebound and redone and remastered, if you will. Hopefully those JSAs can get some reprints and become more readily available because it's such a great set. I love Jeff Johns very much. I think he's a great writer. He's able to hit the characters. He gets the characters really well. I think that's one of the biggest strengths of Jeff Johns. And with the cast as diverse as JSA, it was a really easy way to fall in love with a multitude of characters that for the most part, I would ignore or neglect or call sort of the old school DC. And Jeff Johns completely changed my mind about that. And I wanted to read more stories set in like the Golden Age era, but with modern storytelling. So good, so good. I hope I can pick these up at some point. I'll even pay a little premium for them because I really, really love JSA and Hawkman by Jeff Johns. So those are 5 collected editions or collected edition sets I really regret selling. What are some collected editions you regret having to part ways with for whatever reason you had to do it? You don't have to tell us. But what books do you wish you hadn't sold that you could have in your collection again? Be sure to subscribe, everyone, if you haven't yet already. This is what we do regularly. We post videos, doing top 5s, doing overviews, doing hidden gem videos, live streams, things like that. Check out our Patreon if you're interested in winning hardcover comic giveaways. Our last month winner got themselves a nice new copy of the Preacher Omnibus Volume 1. As little as $1 gets you a chance to win. So check that out as well. And thank you all very much for tuning in. Hope everyone's staying safe and sound. And if you're not, as always, I wish you a speedy recovery. And until next time, as always, you stay classy, Internet.